It's Monday night, and you know what that means. The Jersey First Television Network proudly brings to you the latest edition of Real Talk, and certainly I am the generational talent in Garden State Media, folks, and certainly I'm the hero you need right now as the establishment and legacy media here in New Jersey, folks, continues to lie to you every single day. Guess who will not? That's right, it's me, Fernando Uribe, your trusted source for fearless independent media here in New Jersey. And again, I want to thank you all for joining us on this, the 11th of August, here as we're continuing on in 2025. I want to thank you all for tuning in from wherever and however you may be doing so, whether it's on Facebook Live via StreamYard and any of our social media platforms. Speaking of which, folks, if you haven't done so already, it takes a few seconds. Again, please like, comment, and share tonight's episode, of course, on Facebook. Don't forget to like my page as well as Real Talk with Fernando Uribe and Fernando Uribe Media. In addition, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and X. And of course, make sure you subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Again, like, comment, and share. It gets the show out to a lot more people, and it really, really helps us out here at Jersey First TV. And of course, whether you listen on Spotify or SoundCloud, download and you'll get the podcast right to your smartphone, PC, Mac, or tablet. So whatever it is you're doing on a Monday, maybe you're driving down to Point Pleasant for Tiki Monday and one of those crazy ratchet days, as we all know. Of course, maybe driving to to the mall to get kids shopping. Obviously, some of you parents are moving your kids back to campus in just a few weeks, or it's back to school, back at the elementary, middle school, and high school level in just a few weeks as well. So guess what? I'm pretty sure you're scrolling through your phone and everything. Well, you know what? Take Jersey First TV with you anywhere at any time. And folks, I can't say enough what a privilege it is to be on the dream team of Garden State Media. That's right, folks, front and center right here. It is Jersey First TV. Educating and advocating for the residents of the great state of New Jersey. That's what we do every single week here on Real Talk. Folks, again, check your local listings for start times every Monday night. Because again, as you know, journalists are taking off during the summer or even half the year. Guess who never takes a break, folks? That's right. Fernando Uribe, working hard for you every single week here on the Jersey First Television Network. Folks, you want to stick around for final thoughts? I have a lot to say, but of course, listen. The reason this show continues to do well is because all of you, and of course, these numbers behind me certainly stipulates that. Once again, a great month of July here in 2025. Over 47,000 organic views. That's right, folks. Nothing's boosted here. Listen, I'm not vaccinated, so I sure as hell don't believe in boosting anything whatsoever. But here on this program, folks, it's all organic traffic. So again, to everyone who tunes in on Facebook, on X, on LinkedIn, as well as on Instagram and on YouTube, thank you for sharing. It gets the episodes out to a lot more people. We do appreciate that. And again, folks, I'll continue to give you real organic traffic here. Again, unlike all these little Mickey Mouse journalists with the little Mickey Mouse shows and Mickey Mouse traffic, folks, it's always real conversations and it's always real traffic because it's here on Real Talk. So we'll talk more about that later on during Final Thoughts. And of course, folks, we'll also talk about the disservice to journalism that clowns like Max Pizarro from Insider NJ continue to perform every single week. And of course, I'm not sure if you checked out Insider NJ, but how interesting that a poll was recently published by Insider NJ, obviously, from the SimSite Research Center. And of course, it's paid for by Insider NJ, who coincidentally, whose family that is the benefactor for Insider NJ, it happens to be a Mikey Sherrill fundraiser. So quite honestly, how credible and objective is this poll? I'll tell you more about it later. And of course, why Insider NJ continues to be a joke in today's media landscape. And speaking about joke in today's media landscape, well, folks, it's easy to always remember that Uncle David Cruz from NJ Spotlight News certainly solidifies that every single week. And of course, as you all know, the ELEC, the Election Law Enforcement Commission, recently announced who will be hosting the upcoming gubernatorial debates during the fall season. And to no one's surprise, certainly the New Jersey Globe, along with Rider University, will be hosting one of the debates coming up in September. Shout out to my guest last week, David Wildstein, for a great conversation. Of course, wonderful traffic on the show. And certainly no surprise that he'll be hosting one of the debates along with Fox 5 and ABC 7. Now, of course, no one should be surprised that NJPBS and NJ Spotlight News didn't get one of the debates. And why should they? Folks, they have been partisan hacks for as long as I can remember. And sure, yes, we get to look at nice-looking MILFs like Joanna Gagos and Brianna Vannozzi and Raven Santana. And that's great at all, folks. And trust me, no one minds the eye candy here on this channel. But again, folks, when we want objective, credible journalism, we're not getting that from Uncle Dave. And I think that probably was on the mind of the ELEC Commission when they were sitting there trying to decide what news sites should get the debates. And when we think about news sites, well, NJ Spotlight News and NJPBS, they're not much of one. More on that during Final Thoughts for sure. Folks, it is election season. Of course, I'm the one talking to candidates, journalists, and of course, activists during this election season. And folks, I'm proud to say I am the only journalist in New Jersey media that talks about parental rights, that talks about the importance of giving parents a voice in the education of our children. Now, I don't have any kids that I know of, but I can tell you that if I did, I would be up in arms about what's going on in Trenton, about all of this curriculum that's being sort of propagated by the alphabet mob and really getting into the ears of legislators in Trenton. And you know what? When we think about activists that are fighting back against all of the woke bullshit here in New Jersey, I think of great organizations like Moms for Liberty. Now, certainly they're a national organization, but there are great state chapters as well, and in addition to great county chapters. Why not talk to one of the better chapters here in the state of New Jersey? And guess what? It's the Bergen County chapter. So let's have a chat with the Bergen County chair. The amazing Alexandra Bougher joins us live right now here on Real Talk. Alexandra, how are you?
I'm awesome. I can't believe that summer is halfway over. How are you?
I'm great. And again, Alexandra, the reason this show continues to do well is because we get interesting guests, but good-looking people talk to good-looking people every day. And that's what we do on this show, right? So it's always a pleasure to have you on, and certainly applaud all the great work that you do, in addition to everybody else at Moms for Liberty, not just on a national level, which we'll talk about more about that later, but certainly at a state level and on a county level. And certainly the Bergen County chapter is one of the most visible ones here in New Jersey. So for our audience that maybe is just tuning in for the first time and have not heard of Moms for Liberty, A, what are they about? And B, what prompted you to get involved with such an incredible organization?
For sure. Well, I just want to thank you again for having me on. Definitely being on such a large platform, we're able to spread the word. And there's still so many people, like you said, who don't know what Moms for Liberty is about. We are one of the fiercer chapters in New Jersey, and I love that. We started in March of 2021. And I started because, frankly, a lot of the same reason of other people, right? COVID, they started to see what was going on in the classrooms with their kids. They were trying to mask our kids. They were trying to force them vaccinations. They were trying to say that, they had to do all these things that we were like, hold on a second. I'm the parent here. You're not going to tell me what I have to put on my kid, put in my kid, teach my kid. So it was really eye-opening. And I needed the tools to be able to, figure out my rights, because even though I had 3 kids, my oldest will actually be 25 this year. Wow. And my 2 middle ones are actually, Bear just turned 10 yesterday and Sadie will be 12. So, they're older, but at the time, right, they were younger kids, my little ones, they were younger. And so I want to say it was like 5 and 7, I want to say at the time. And so I didn't know my rights. And I was like, this was mind blowing to me. So I have 3 kids. I've been a parent for a really long time, and I don't know what my rights are in my own children's school. So I had seen I believe it was a commercial for Moms for Liberty, and I gave them a call, and it sounded great. They said, we're going to educate you. We're going to give you the tools to empower you so that you could fight for your own children. And I said, that's exactly what I need. I don't need someone to fight for me. I just need to know how to do it. So we started the chapter, and it's been going strong ever since.
And again, I can't say enough about the good work that you do, because in a climate where, thankfully, not just as a country, right, we saw it last November. We're really waking up from this woke nightmare that seemed to encompass the United States. Now, I think parts of New Jersey are also waking up to that as well. Not every part of New Jersey, certainly, especially at the Department of Education. But I can tell you that along a lot of different demographics, Alexandra, we're tired of the woke bullshit. We're tired of identity. We're tired of pronouns. We're tired of the fact that, hey, if you don't have pronouns in your email signature, well, maybe, you're not very tolerant. You know what? The hell with this shit. I've said it all along. I'm ecstatic that we've gotten away from that. We have an administration in Washington that, and again, very simply, and I understand that sometimes calendars work different ways, but what a difference a year makes, where last year on Easter, and even though Easter was early in 2024, then President Joe Biden felt it was still important to celebrate, Trans Visibility Day on Easter Sunday. And in Easter 2025, we celebrated Easter. And I was very emphatic on social media, like, hey, this is what I voted for. This is the country that I want. And I think a lot of Americans, a lot of New Jerseyans specifically, have just said, hey, you know what? We don't have to sort of walk on eggshells anymore. We don't have to be so paranoid. We're getting away from the woke bullshit. Maybe not necessarily in Trenton, but especially at the Department of Education, we're seeing more and more activist organizations like yours. And despite the fact that we're seeing like these despicable acts in states like Connecticut and others that are, designating Moms for Liberty a terrorist group. I'm sorry, but wait a minute. Like, how about like terrorist groups that like are, on our college campuses that are harassing Jewish students and faculty, or groups like Antifa that are still like vandalizing property in nearby cities. So it's always interesting when I see state governments and how selective their outrage is about who they want to designate as terror organizations. When I think of Moms for Liberty, I don't think of that at all.
No, there's nothing scary about us. I mean, listen, maybe we can be intimidating because we stand our ground. We know what we stand for. We have great morals and values, and we want to protect our children. But we're certainly not terrorists. Everyone laughs when they hear that, especially when they meet us for the first time, or they'll see pictures of us, or they'll see us, in Washington, D.C., and they're like, this is Moms for Liberty. Like, they're just really wonderful parents that want to stand up for their children and protect their children and all children. And I think that's something that's an important, thing to say. It's not just my children. I mean, yes, I wanted to protect my children, but all children, right? I mean, they're innocent, and it's our job as adults, safe adults, to make sure that anything we see, we say something about. Anytime something is going on, we do something about it. We stand up for that child. So, that is super important. And what a difference a year makes, a few years makes. I mean, we went from having very little support to everyone saying, oh, you guys get stuff done. We need you at this meeting. We need you down in Trenton. We need you in Washington, D.C. You need to be a part of this meeting. You need to have a seat at every single table, because when we decide to do something, we get it done. So we're definitely very proud of ourselves, for sure. We have so much more work to do. Even when we were at the executive order signing for keeping boys out of girls' sports, I was like, I'm so happy that we're here, right? But I can't believe that we're here, because this should be common sense. Boys shouldn't be in girls' locker rooms. They shouldn't be in their spaces. They shouldn't be in their sports. It's just common sense. And yes, like you had mentioned, the fact that it's I believe it was Massachusetts training, saying that we're like this terrorist organization or hate group, just shows you how much more work we have to do. So, and we're always going to have to work. And I say that because the other side never takes a day off. Yeah. So we can never take a day off as well.
Absolutely. And again, kudos to you, the rock star inside the White House. I'm like, wait a second. I can only sniff the White House from the outside. You're inside making history. And contributing to history. So I appreciate you doing that. Obviously representing parental rights. Not just
they have been really great with us. I have to say, they have asked us to have a seat at all of those tables, like, with boys out of girls sports, or, what needs to happen with the Department of Education, or the Kennedy Roundtable with Maha. I mean, these have just to name a few things. I mean, we were just recently down there a few weeks ago, in which we're going to demand justice for the fact that they came after parents and called them terrorists. They basically just weaponize the government, right? Or the Department of Justice against parents. So we're not just going to sweep that under the rug now. We demand, justice for that. So the White House has been absolutely wonderful with us.
Absolutely. And I'm happy to hear that. Folks, if you're just joining us right now, it is 6:23 on the East Coast. My guest tonight is the distinguished chair of the Bergen County chapter of Moms for Liberty here in New Jersey. The amazing Alexandra Bougher joins us live here. Folks, again, like, comment, share, and most importantly, subscribe to Jersey First on all of our social media platforms. It helps get the show out to more people. We appreciate you doing that here as you tune in live. Alexandra, it's interesting. I voted for this in 2016 and 2020 and in 2024. And one of my, I would say like a hardline issue for me was the issue of judges. And I knew that, should Donald Trump win in 2016, he would hopefully maybe have maybe one or two picks at the Supreme Court. And thankfully, in his first term, he was able to get three. Certainly that has contributed to a 6-3 constructionist majority. I don't like to say conservative or liberal because I just think it's constructionist. It's like you're interpreting the law as is, not your feelings, not how you wake up in the morning. It's about being constructionist. And how relieved was I with a lot of Supreme Court decisions in the last few years, but arguably the one that came out earlier this summer about ultimately the Supreme Court telling you outright that they're for parental rights, that if parents want to opt their kids out of LGBTQ plus minus, I can't even keep up anymore with the acronym. If they want to do that, they have the option to do that. And we're seeing more and more parents nationally. We're seeing parents groups in New Jersey sort of say, hey, F you to, Matt Placken, the Attorney General, who, by the way, I'm counting the days until this clown is out of Trenton and the Department of Law and Public Safety in Trenton, of course, later on this year. But I got to tell you, when I read that court decision by the Supreme Court, it wasn't complicated. It's just giving power back to the parents that was taken away from them with all this acquiescing to woke bullshit. I mean, is that fair to say?
I would say it's extremely fair. It should have never happened in the first place. Yeah. Again, we have the ultimate decisions over our children. We know our kids, right? We know they're all different people. They're all different personalities. We know what's best for them. And we also know what our beliefs are in our families. And they're not all going to be the same. It's not one size fits all, which frankly is what's wrong with the public school system and the Department of Education as it is. Everybody is different and everybody learns differently and everyone needs different, situations or environments. And we need to be able to be open to that and say, hey, maybe this kid's not doing so well because of his environment or, the type of school that he's in. And that's why school choice is so important. But choices in general in public school should be, the parent should be involved in. They should be the first person to know what's going on and to make that decision for their child. And let's be honest, the scores, and I really hate to actually use reading scores because again, every child does learn differently. So they don't all test well, or maybe they don't learn the way that their school is reading. So, maybe they are doing better at home and we just don't know it. But what's showing in schools is very scary. And they're more worried about teaching children about, sex and gender and non-binary and transgender. And we all know why they're doing that. Yeah. They're doing it to groom these children because there are unfortunately some very sick people out there. And they want to make this just like every day for these kids so that when maybe they're around another child and they bring something up, it's not going to faze that child because they learned it in school. So they're grooming these children and we're not going to stand for it. It is not allowed. 6 years ago, if you showed a child one of these books, you would have been arrested. Yeah. Okay. And now the teacher loses their job. So things are starting to turn around. It's going to take time. I know a lot of people are like, we wish it could be more sooner. And I'm like, guys, the world was so messed up that it's going to take a little bit of time to get it back to where it should be and actually better than what it should be. So we're working very hard. That was an excellent decision. Parents know now that they have these options. And with back to school coming up, they should know that there are opt-out forms for pretty much everything. The sex curriculum. My kid's opt-out form, no joke, is 3 pages long. And it lists every single app or computer game or whatever that's inappropriate. Book, everything. And I give it to the principal, the vice principal, the superintendent. Everybody has it. There's vaccine opt-outs, a medical exemption, a religious exemption. And these are all things that you can do. Again, you can homeschool. If this isn't the right option for your child, we're one of the easiest states, although we can touch on that in a second,
sure, absolutely.
To homeschool in. So use that. If your child isn't doing well in school and they're miserable or they're getting bullied or they're not learning or it's not right for them, pull them out. all you have to do is write a letter and send it to the school, and they don't have to go back to school the next day.
Yeah.
So I would just really urge parents to not sit back and allow things to happen to their families or their children, but to, step up and say, hey, what's in the curriculum this year? I want to see all of it, and then use the opt-out forms, which are on our websites to use free of charge. You just go on, sign up to be a member, and you can, I want to say it's under resources, I believe, and you can just find the opt-out forms. So they are super easy. You add your kid's school, names, information. We did all the hard work for you.
Well, speaking about getting back to normal a lot sooner, as many residents are advocating for, really that at the heart of the matter, what's going on in just a few months. On November the 4th, obviously, Phil Murphy is term limited. New Jersey will be electing a new governor. And certainly the two major candidates are from the Democrat Party, U.S. Representative Mikey Sherrill, currently the representative in the 11th Congressional District, and former State Assemblyman Jack Ciattarelli. Now, Jack Ciattarelli has made it very clear that he is supporting parental rights. He has made it very clear during the debate season that he wants to, in addition to a lot of executive orders that are necessary on day one, like ending the sanctuary statehood in New Jersey, for example, also empowering parents. And I have to say, though, that is without a doubt going to be, I think, one of the bigger issues during this election cycle. Now, before we get to November 4th, obviously, we had talked earlier in the year, Alexandra, and certainly a very contentious primary season for both the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. Certainly, I was not surprised. I called both winners in the race. I thought Mikey Sherrill was going to get a lot of support from the establishment Dems in New Jersey. And in turn, I thought Jack Ciattarelli was going to get a lot of support and encouragement from establishment Republicans. And the numbers show that. I mean, Mikey Sherrill won pretty convincingly for the Democrat Party, and Jack Ciattarelli won pretty convincingly in the Republican Party. So much so that he won all 21 counties, which a lot of people didn't think that. But I know that during the primary season, it was very fickle and contentious. Certainly, we had former state senator Ed Durr, current state senator John Bramnick, certainly, Jack Ciattarelli and Bill Speedia. It was getting very fickle, very heated during the primary season. Jack got to the finish line. He's the nominee. I think he's been, right now from what I'm seeing, he's going up and down New Jersey, really galvanizing a lot of different demographics: Hispanics, Blacks, Asian, college-educated women, single parents. I think there's a lot of demographics in New Jersey that are moving towards the Republican Party. We saw that last November where Donald Trump came within 4 points of winning New Jersey. First time since George H.W. Bush in 1988. I think there's a lot of momentum for Republicans. I think Jack is personifying that right now. But for those that were Bill Speedia supporters, the morning after June 10th, I know was a really rough one. What were you hearing from those throughout the state, and then subsequently moving forward, about the support for Jack?
For sure. I mean, everybody had their opinion. Everyone had their right to vote. But the fact is that Jack won the primary. So regardless of how, frankly, anybody feels, we need to get this won for our state and our children. And Jack is now the choice. So no matter how you felt, during the primary, we have two choices. And if you're a Republican, Jack is the choice. And, he has said that he is going to back parental rights and back homeschooling family rights. And so I look forward to working with him in the near future, hopefully when he's elected governor, and we can get rid of a lot of what's going on. Sanctuary state. We don't want to be a sanctuary state anymore. We need more. We need school choice in New Jersey. We need parents involved more heavily in schools. And we need the rights for homeschool families to stay where they are, not to intrude in those families. And so I actually think it looks really good. I think people are waking up. I think that showed getting Trump in, right? The only thing that I would say is I wish I had seen more people go out and vote in the primary. And that's probably the only thing that, has me the teeniest bit worried, is that a lot of times Republicans stay home and they don't vote. And they knew they had to for Trump, but what they don't realize is that they have to for New Jersey. Even when Trump said he's going to be putting the rights back to the states, right, for like schools and education, well, that's now in our court, right? So we need to make sure the governor, stands for the rights and the beliefs that we believe in. So we need everybody. There should have been a much larger showing in the primary. Hopefully that's, we see, I don't know, triple, quadruple that in the election. But that's what people need to realize, is that every vote really does count. It really, really does. And I need you to take your husband, your wife, your uncle, your aunt, your neighbor, whoever needs a ride, and make sure, just like we did with Trump's election, right? It was like, take 14 people to the voting station. We need that in New Jersey.
And it's interesting because the very same tools that Democrats used in 2021 to ultimately get Phil Murphy reelected by a very narrow margin over Jack Ciattarelli came back to bite them last year. Early voting, vote by mail. Republicans knew, hey, listen, it's not going anywhere. Let's make it work for us. And it did. And certainly, listen, we saw Donald Trump do well, for example, in my neck of the woods in Hudson County. Back in 2020, Joe Biden won Hudson County, for example, by more than 30 points. And Kamala Harris only won it by 15. We saw Passaic County flipping for Donald Trump and Republicans. So there's a lot of momentum, I think, for Jack. It remains to be seen if the president's going to come to New Jersey again like he did last summer. I was there, in Wildwood on the beach on that hot, May Saturday afternoon, but it was worth it. Again, the president's polling pretty well. And, for a lot of people I talk to statewide, like operatives, especially in the Democrat Party, Alexandra, a lot of them are telling me privately that, hey, it's kind of reminding me a little bit about 2009. And notwithstanding what we think of Chris Christie today, but 2009 Chris Christie, going up against an immensely unpopular governor like John Corzine, that stench, a lot of people are telling me that, like, there isn't a lot of enthusiasm for Mikey Sherrill among a lot of establishment Dems, where they could see themselves staying home because of that. Now, again, I think Republicans shouldn't get comfortable or complacent. They need to get the vote out. As you said, get people out during early voting, vote by mail, make sure you're there on election day. But I have to tell you, I think that what the difference between 2021 and this year is, I said, hey, listen, I think that Jack could win. I call that race pretty close. I think Jack's going to win because at the end of the day, I say this all the time to all my friends or Dems or progressives or whatever, we have the highest property taxes in the country. That's nothing to do with Donald Trump. Donald Trump's not in Trenton, okay? The fact that the gas tax, now again, it started under Chris Christie, I get it. And it was, obviously, transitioned through intervals. But the last phase of the gas tax took effect in January of this year. Now, again, it's the summer. I can't remember the last time that gas was under $3 in New Jersey, but it is. But unfortunately, it could be $2 if it wasn't for the gas tax, which is 49 cents. Arguably, I think the second or third highest in the country behind California, I think Florida. But the bottom line is the tolls have gone up. The gas tax have gone up. Property taxes continue to go up. The budget is getting fatter than some of the more recent Victoria's Secret models. I mean, Republicans have a great opportunity. I think that Mikey Sherrill just can't be like, well, Donald Trump sucks. How? The economy is better. I watch the market every day. The revenue from tariffs has been working out. More manufacturing jobs are coming back to the country. We're seeing, ICE do their job and remove dangerous illegals. Like, again, I guess you can't throw Phil Murphy under the bus for ruining New Jersey along with his accomplices like, Nick Scutari, the Senate president, and Craig Coughlin. But at the end of the day, like, if you're a Democrat, it just can't be like, well, I don't like Donald Trump. Donald Trump's not running. It's Jack Ciattarelli. And at the end of the day, Jack Ciattarelli wants to fix what Trent is doing wrong. It's weird to me how that message isn't resonating enough.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think, it's like the Trump derangement syndrome. People just have it, and it really affects them, I think, so much more than people realize, that they're just not seeing the truth that's right in front of them. And it's true. I mean, listen, I drive a large pickup truck. Going to the gas station hurts. It is not a fun time when they hand me that receipt. It's really expensive. And while the economy is definitely doing better, food prices are still it's starting to come down, but they're still up there. And people are feeling it. I mean, if you talk to small business owners, they're feeling it. People are not getting their services, let's say maintenance services. They're not going every month. They're going every other or every third month. They're really starting to, tighten things. And so, yes, overall, things are so much better. But in our own state, we're still really feeling certain things. So again, we can't, it's sort of like when Trump got in, everyone said, oh, we can relax now. No. Have fun tonight, celebrate, and tomorrow we get back to work, because we have to take care of ourselves. Something that we learned is that we can never depend on anybody else. We have to do this, and it happens on every level of government. So Board of Ed, town council, governor, Senate, like all of that. We need everyone to step up. And yes, we need to get Jack in, but not only do we need to get Jack in, we need everybody else to do their part as well. And then this way, if everybody does their part, you can't turn around and blame it on somebody else. Yeah. We all work together. So that's really what we need to do, is stop the blame game and have everyone step up and help out.
No, you're absolutely right. And again, not just the gubernatorial race, but all 80 state assembly races are also on the ballot. Now, again, for our audience at home, maybe you're not familiar with the math here, Democrats have majorities in both chambers of the legislature. They have a 52 to 28 majority in the Assembly. That's a big majority, but there's a lot of vulnerable Dems in Central and South Jersey, Alexandra. And maybe, listen, up here in Hudson County, I mean, the districts are as blue as Windex, okay? But there's a lot of vulnerable Dems in Central and South Jersey where, with Jack at the top of the ticket, and if they can ride those coattails, hopefully, I think Jack's going to win. Republicans can maybe win anywhere between 8 to 9 seats, and again, cut into that majority that Democrats have, where I get it, Jack will be sworn in as governor in January of 2026. Yes, you'll still have a state senate that is 27. I believe it's 40. I think it's no, I'm sorry. I think it's 20. I think it's 22-18 or 23-17. I'm sorry, in favor of Democrats. And, again, you'll have a Democrat state Senate, but having more Republicans in the state assembly, I think, will be great for a Governor Chitterelli for sure. And certainly, a lot of interesting municipal races. Listen, where I live, there's mayoral races in Secaucus, Bayonne, Kearney, Jersey City, and Hoboken. But there's great important mayoral races all over the state, as well as Board of Ed races. How involved is Moms for Liberty in New Jersey? Now, again, it's a nonpartisan organization. You're not endorsing per se, especially during primary season. But now with the general election, how involved is Moms for Liberty with some of these Board of Ed races and even municipal races?
So we are extremely involved with Board of Ed races. I mean, that's what we get involved in, I would say, mostly during this time, right? So every night I'm on a few Zooms with some candidates that would like to be endorsed by Moms for Liberty. Moms for Liberty only endorses Board of Ed candidates. Of course, we work with other candidates as well, because you have to. So you have to have great relationships with, all the legislators, bottom to top. Like, you have to know what people stand for, who will help you get bills passed, who can support you if you don't know which way to go, who can point you in the right direction. So that's extremely important. A lot of the states have legislative committees. New Jersey does have a Moms for Liberty legislative committee. I am actually one of the liaisons, meaning that I work directly with the legislators, what bills that we need to stop, what ones that we'd like to put up and get passed. So we have really great relationships with so many people down in Trenton. It's absolutely wonderful. But yes, Board of Ed is like our thing. And that's what we do. We sometimes we will seek out candidates to see who might have the right stuff, the right values, the thick skin that you definitely need. Definitely need, because you will get it from both sides. You'll have the people that support you, but you're going to have the people that, say, oh, you're Moms for Liberty, or all these other things that they call us, right? So, you really do need that thick skin. And then a lot of times, though, I would say 9 out of 10 times, they're coming to us for endorsements. They know that we're going to help them. in any way that they can. A lot of times they've never run before. And this way we have like a campaign kit. We help them. Okay, this is due by this day. This is due by this day. Okay, you need to do signs. And we really help them with that process, but also meet and greets and going with them to, certain meetings and just saying, this is what we believe in. And, this candidate really reflects that. And, so it's really a wonderful, wonderful program. And I have to say, I mean, I can't speak for all the chapters, but we have a great winning streak with our candidates. Yeah, it's really awesome. The first year, we were a little, choosier. The first year we were new, we only endorsed 2, but they both got in. And then the second year we kind of blew up and we had a lot of them. But again, out of all of them, and I don't remember the number, but it was a large one, only 2 didn't get in. And then the year after that, I think we went a little lower, but only 1 didn't get in. So pretty much everyone that we're endorsing is winning. And a lot of them are flipping their boards. And so that's really wonderful. So now they're getting rid of, I think we remember policy 5756, which, we are steadily getting out of all the school districts in New Jersey. It's actually doing really, really well. So that's great. But, people were like, they would just get shut down if it was brought up. And now they're like, yeah, let's talk about it again. And they are getting rid of it. So that's, we're seeing the changes and it's really like awesome. But, you have to be involved in, again, kind of a little bit of everything because, to get, for instance, bills passed that could help the Board of Ed, you need to have those relationships with the legislation, which means you need to know how it works. So, for us, it was definitely interesting few years of learning that, going down to Trenton, literally just going up to someone like an assemblyman and saying, hi, I'm Alex from Monster Liberty. Can you tell me what your job does? and learning that way. But it was a great way to learn. And we would just sit in the room and watch things unfold and really learn. Now we're super comfortable with it and we have such great relationships with everybody. And we have some really awesome bills that we're putting through this fall. And there are some pretty egregious ones that we would like to halt dead in its tracks. So again, a lot of work to do, but if anyone could just, say, I'm going to run for town council, I'm going to run for Board of Ed, anything, that would be super helpful. Because then we would have, somebody like-minded with the same values and morals in every seat.
That makes a big difference for sure. And I want to share this story with you because I think you'll appreciate it because I'm sure that, all the vitriol that Moms for Liberty gets unnecessarily. I mean, I know you're a champ. You have like Kevlar. It's like bullets off of you. It's almost like Neo in the Matrix, when he just,
I love that.
And you're just repelling them. I think you'll appreciate this story. So earlier this summer, I've been getting, there's been attempts to cancel me locally here in Hudson County and even based on my media brand. And I'm always laughing at the accusations about my media brand that it's homophobic and it's transphobic. And listen, I'm an educator, I'm an academic, I'm very literal. So when I think of the word phobia, I look at its definition. And when I think of phobia, I think of, as it's defined, an irrational fear. And I don't have some irrational fear of gay people or trans people. Like, if you want to know an irrational fear of mine, like, the Eagles winning another Super Bowl, that I'm deathly afraid of, okay? Like, that, just terrifies me because I hate the fan base. Or, I don't know, maybe my local restaurant running out of food. I don't know. Like, maybe that's a fear I may have. But I'm always I always laugh when I have activists, especially in Hudson County, who have attempted to cancel me on multiple occasions. And my comments are always consistent. Listen, nearby in Hoboken, we're seeing crime go up. And one of my biggest accusations of the administration is, well, the mayor and members of the council in Hoboken are more concerned with pronouns than public safety and property taxes. And it's true. Like during Pride Month, they're more concerned with repainting the crosswalks than hiring more police officers. And sure enough, what came out this week, crime is up in Hoboken in almost every statistical category. So when I go after elected officials, like, oh, there's Uribe being a homophobe. No, I'm not being a homophobe. Again, I'm all for people and respecting people. I understand, listen, there's a lot of reasons to dislike Fernando Uribe, Alexandra, and I understand that being straight isn't one of them. So I get that. I'm never going to face that backlash. But the idea that there's over 145 calendar days. I've counted them. I've talked about it on this show repeatedly. That's dedicated to a specific community. And no one's saying that we can't respect, everybody. But what's happened lately is a lot of pride parades and pride months have become full-blown perversion festivals. And that's just not something I'm comfortable having kids by. Now, people might say, well, you shouldn't be taking your kids if you don't like it. No, if parents want to walk down Main Street, they shouldn't. Again, one thing is respecting different communities, but even that becomes exhausting. And when it comes to trans people, I've been accused of being a hateful bigot, a guy who takes joy in bigotry against trans people. See, this is the thing. There are people out there, Alexandra, who believe the earth is flat. Now, that's a delusion, okay? We all know that it's just not true. I'm under no obligation to acquiesce to your delusion. You want to believe the earth is flat? Cool. Have at it. But if I turn around and say, you're just delusional, just like you have the right to believe what you want to believe, so do I. The idea that a boy can become a girl or a man can become a woman, the idea that, no amount of makeup, no amount of make-believe, no amount of hormones or whatever, okay, you have a uterus, I have a different reproductive organ, okay? I can never have babies, okay? I pull my quad and I'm dying. I can't even imagine carrying a human being for 9 months, okay? I don't have ovaries. I don't have a uterus, okay? So the idea that people want to push this narrative that, well, you're just a transphobe because no, I don't believe men can be women. Women can't be men. No, listen, tomorrow you want to chop off your hair and you want to remove your breasts. That's great. Good for you. A lot of us are going to be, crying that day, obviously. But guess what? No amount of make-believe is going to make you a man. You're not going to have a penis. You're not going to have testicles. So this idea that, hey, I'm not going to go along with your delusions, I'm sorry. It doesn't make me a transphobe. It just makes me a person that understands biology. What is so hard about that, Alexandra?
It's a great question. We don't know what's so hard about that. Back to COVID, they would say, follow the science. We are following the science.
Yeah.
This is the science. This is biology. This is the truth. These are the facts. And we are sticking by them. And you're not going to bully us into believing something that we know is not true. Something that Billboard Chris likes to always wear is no child was ever born in the wrong body. And that is 100%
Correct.
True. There's, you can't argue with it. That child is born in the right body. I have no problem with who you want to love, as long as it's legal, of course. But you don't need to talk to my children about it or any child about it. The only reason I knew my kindergarten teacher had a husband was because he was actually a sweetie and dropped off lunch every day to her. But that was the only reason, because she didn't talk about him. We didn't know about her sex life. We didn't know what happened in her home. It's inappropriate. You don't talk about it in school. You don't talk about it to a minor, period. There is no wiggle room there, period. That is it. That is a parent's job to talk about necessary, conversations when the time comes. But that is the only person that should be talking to their child about things like that. And telling children that they are harming another child's feelings or bullying them in school because they won't say that they're a boy when they're a girl, or say that they're a cat when they're a boy, or like whatever it is. Now you're harming that child. Yeah. Okay. Because that child knows the truth. They're just being truthful. And you're telling them that they're wrong about it. And we're not going to stand for it. I never stood for it, but we're not going to allow it to happen ever again. We're not going to tell our children that they're wrong or hurtful to people or bigots or racist because they want you to lie for them. So it's just common sense. We're getting back to common sense. Yep. And again, I have no problem with a Pride Day. Have a Pride Day. But if there's, what do you say? It was 145, I think you said.
Well,
how about that's veterans?
I've gone into this at length. There's 145 calendar days allocated to the LGBT. And again, and the reason I always say LGBT is because those are based on sexuality. Anything that is identity. And I'm not going to give that equity any more than I should. But again, we have Pride Month. Okay, fine. But we have Trans Visibility Day in March. And then in November, we have Trans Visibility Month. And then we have Lesbian Visibility Day. Then we have Asexual Day. Then we have Cisgender. Like, again, I understand that people want to be recognized, but I'm consistent, Alexandra. Like, up here during October, when it's Hispanic, Heritage Month, like, I hate all the Hispanic heritage parades. Like, I hate them, and I'm Hispanic. I don't need to see a Cuban parade. I don't need to see a Colombian parade. Like, I get it. But it just seems like this community specifically, nothing is ever going to make them happy. And for a group of people that are so oppressed, yet they're so celebrated, it boggles my mind. And again, I'm not trying to infringe on people's rights, but when you're a parent, and, one thing is pride parades. And listen, I'm old enough to remember seeing pride parades across the river in New York that were tasteful and proper. But again, it's not like a fringe small amount. We're seeing it in cities like San Francisco, New York, LA, Minneapolis, where we're seeing grown men doing grotesque things near children. Like, that has nothing to do with pride. And I just think that speaking out against it, you do a great job. I feel I do a great job. I'm the only one in media in New Jersey that's doing it. And yet I'm vilified incredibly. And again, I'm going to die on this hill. I am not for discriminating against anybody. I'm not against being prejudicial against anybody. But the idea that you think it's appropriate and acceptable to subject kids as young as 5 curriculum. When I was 5 years old, Alexandra, I could barely tie my shoes. I remember all I cared about was video games and Little League baseball and being good at baseball. Now, at some point within the next few years, I discovered I like girls. Cool. And I've continued to like girls since then. That's been a big problem of mine well into my adult life. But the point is that I'm not for discriminating against anybody, but the idea, especially when it comes to curriculum, that there's a certain vocal minority that has gotten into the ear of legislators in Trenton, that has to stop. And I think that's why I would argue, and I'm not even being hyperbolic, I would argue this is probably the most consequential gubernatorial race in New Jersey history in my adult life. If we have another 4 years of a Democrat in Trenton as governor, I think New Jersey is going to further sink into an abyss economically, culturally, morally, and socially.
I agree with you. I think, honestly, I think a lot of people are going to move. I think they're going to pull their kids out of school. I think we're going to see a lot of that because the schools and the children are in so much trouble right now as it is, from getting pulled out of school for so many years, from the curriculum being what it is, super focused on woke indoctrination rather than actual learning, that these kids need so much help already that parents are just going to have to say, well, we can't, this is it. We can't do this anymore. At this point, the state either gets so much better and we have school choice and this woke stuff gets out of schools and we start healing our children and our families, or we're going to have to leave because we cannot subject our families to this anymore. So that's how important this vote is. That every single person goes out and votes is so incredibly important. And it doesn't matter who you voted for in the primary, whether, if they didn't win, that's okay. You now need to look at who the two people are and decide who's best for your family. Don't think about Trump. Don't think about any of that other stuff. Yeah. Think about who's going to be the best for our state and our children and our families, and then go with that person. And I think we all know who that is.
Alexandra, speaking about elections, it sort of begs the question. You exhibit leadership, you exhibit poise, you're a bulldog. I mean, am I going to see the name Alexandra Bauer on a ballot anytime soon?
Not for a few years. I definitely never thought this is something that I would be doing. However, I do see how important it is for the right people to be leading our state and our country. And so you might see it in a few years, but it's important for me to get my children through these important years. I have a 5th and 6th grader right now. This will be their last year of public school, and then I think I'm going back to homeschooling. So we'll sort of take it, as it goes. Okay. But my place is at home with the kids and raising them, because nobody else is going to raise my children except for me. So they are my first priority. But certainly the state and country is right after that. So you might see something soon.
All right. I mean, I'd love to see that again. You check up all the boxes as far as I'm concerned. And before I let you go again, I want to thank you for your time. You're always an excellent conversation. You raise exceptional points. Especially in a climate where I think we're getting back to normal, hopefully. I mean, hopefully, come November, Jack Ciattarelli's the next governor. Certainly, hopefully we see more Republicans in the state assembly. We'll see what happens coming up in the next cycle. But at the end of the day, New Jersey has to go red. And I think there's a lot of metrics out there that are in our favor. We're seeing great activists like Scott Pressler posting voter registration drives. We've seen that in just 4 years, where Democrats had a 1.1 million voter registration advantage, it's now down to 700,000. So people are seeing the writing on the wall. We saw it last November with Donald Trump's election. We saw it with not just winning the Electoral College, but winning the popular vote, flipping hundreds of counties, winning the electoral, again, flipping every swing state. We saw it here in New Jersey. Pockets got a lot redder. I think it's time to sort of quote a wrestling storyline with Cody Rhodes, it's time to finish the story. And I think it's time for Jack Ciattarelli to finish his story this November, going for governor. And I urge everyone, if you haven't registered to vote, what are you waiting for? Do so. And certainly, get people out, vote early, certainly vote by mail, get people interested in the issues. Listen, it's the summer. I'm a political junkie. I do this for a living. But a lot of New Jersey residents don't start paying attention until after Labor Day, right? Baseball playoffs come up, short season's over, kids are back in school, the routines are back for everybody. That's when we start seeing people pay attention. Now more than ever, I think Republicans, conservatives, independents have to rally behind Ciattarelli and make New Jersey as red as this logo on this program, for God's sake. So you're one of the leading voices for that. I'm always thankful for your time. I appreciate your faith in my brand of journalism. And without you, again, this show would not be a success. So I'm eternally grateful to you, to Moms for Liberty, and certainly everyone involved with you. I'll give you the last word here tonight.
But again, thank you so much as well, because without these type of platforms, especially one as large as yours, it's a little harder to get our message out there. So thank you so much for having me on. But yes, I know your point is correct. We have still a few more weeks of summer. This is true, but don't wait until the last minute. If you are not registered to vote, register to vote. If you need opt-out forms, please go to momsforliberty.org, sign up to be a member. It is free. You'll see under resources the different opt-out forms. And if you're thinking about starting a chapter, please reach out as well. We have so many chapters across the United States, but we definitely could use more. And, like for instance, we have, I think it's about half the counties in New Jersey. And so we kind of cover for the other counties. So it's super helpful. If you don't have a Moms for Liberty chapter in your county, please reach out. I will help you start one. It's, pretty easy as long as you're the right person. Again, you do need thick skin. You do need the right beliefs and morals and values. But if you are that person, I will help you. And our entire state team leadership will help you. So please reach out. A couple of things I did want to just point out before we get off. We do have some scary homeschool bills coming through. There's 4 of them, but 2 of them are major. They are coming after the homeschool community. I don't care if you're not homeschooling, you may want the option. And even if you don't want the option, it is not right. And you as a parent need to be concerned about this, because they are coming after parents again. It is our right to decide the education of our children. So this coming session, legislative session in the fall, when we do a call to action out, to call or email and say, hey, we don't want these bills, which is S 4589 and 1796, please do it. please email, please call, and please show up in Trenton when we ask you to, because we're going to need the bodies then to stop these bills. And that's actually pretty much about it. We have a wonderful summit coming up in October in Florida. If you are a member, you're welcome to come. I hope to see you there. And it's always a lot of fun, and we learn a lot of stuff. So again, momsforliberty.org. You can sign up to be a member, and we will help you out.
Folks, when it comes to activism, stand up for parental rights, stand up for our kids, it starts with great organizations like Moms for Liberty. And here in New Jersey, we got great leaders like the Bergen County Chair, my guest tonight, Alexandra Bougher, here on Real Talk. Alexandra, enjoy the rest of summer, what's left of it. I know before you know it, the kids will be back in school. The leaves change color.
Yes.
The NFL returns. It's just fall. So I know I know you always stay busy, but again, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on this program, talk about the issues that matter to everyday New Jerseyans. And quite frankly, you're making a hell of a difference. So thank you for your time. And we'll talk to you soon here on Jersey First TV.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Folks, good stuff there with Alexandra Bougher. Again, our incredible chair in Bergen County for Moms for Liberty. And folks, I'm the only journalist really talking about parental rights here in the state of New Jersey. No one in establishment media, legacy media, even cares about this. They're more concerned with pronouns and all the woke bullshit because, again, that's what they become conditioned to. But not on this show, folks. Not on my watch. So we have the dinosaurs in establishment media. The David Cruzes, Max Pizarros, Alan Steinbergs, Charles Style, right? Bob Hennelly, the John Van Vliets, the Jay Lasseters. Again, the dinosaurs of establishment media. Nah, folks, sorry. Fernando Uribe-August the future. I know it's hard for you to process that. But trust me when I tell you. The traffic will tell you that. The metrics will tell you that. And more importantly, folks, everyday New Jersey residents care about these issues. So while they're over there focusing on woke bullshit and, hey, if they don't like what they hear, then someone's a blankist or a blankphobe. That's all they live on. That's the bullshit that just encompasses their lives. That's not the case here, folks, on this program. Here on Real Talk, we're talking about the issues that matter. And that's why the show continues to be successful. And of course, it continues to be successful with great guests like I just had tonight in Alexandra Bougher. So shout out to Moms for Liberty. Get involved with them. Again, visit momsforliberty.org. Check out your state and check out the chapters if you wish to get involved with them. Folks, they're a great organization. And certainly when you have great leaders like Alexandra Bougher, the future is bright for Moms for Liberty. Folks, again, we appreciate you tuning in here this evening. Certainly, I can't say enough. Like, comment, and share tonight's episode. It gets it out to more people. And again, it really helps us out here on Jersey First TV. Again, the leader in independent media here in the Garden State. Folks, you know what time it is? It's what you're always waiting for. It's time for Final Thoughts. And yes, folks, when we talk about the disservice to media and quite frankly, the clowns in establishment media and legacy media in New Jersey, well, who comes to mind right away? Well, folks, it's not hard to pick, but certainly Insider NJ. And what's interesting, folks, is when you look at a latest piece there, obviously, let's sort of look at it. The StimSite research poll, which was paid for by Insider NJ. And coincidentally, folks, what a surprise to see Mikey Sherrill leading this poll. But you know what's interesting? Again, and a shout out to Terrence McDonald from the New Jersey Monitor for putting this on the Morning Monitor newsletter. But folks, you can't really take polls like this seriously because guess who's a major fundraiser for Mikey Sherrill? Oh, that's right. Members of the Graham family. And coincidentally, who owns Insider NJ? Well, the Graham family. So it's hard to take this poll seriously when, I don't know about you, but I see a considerable conflict of interest here. But again, that would require people at Insider NJ, right? The management, whether it's Pete O'Nelia. So, when he's not whoring himself out for advertising dollars to whatever lobby, law firm, or whoever, or union or activist organization. And you got Max Pizarro sitting at home, scratching his ass and playing with his dick. Right? So it's hard to take polls like this seriously when it's not credible journalism. But that's what Insider NJ has become notorious for, right? Lacking credibility. And of course, lacking that really pesky four-syllable word that quite often evades them. Want to know what that word is, folks? Yeah. Integrity. Yeah, they don't have any over there. Well, let's sort of delve into this here. So, according to Insider NJ, of course, overseen by its editor-in-chief, the slacker, the resident slacker, Max Pizarro, in the 2025 race for New Jersey governor, Democrat Mikey Sherrill currently has a 48% support, and Republican Jack Ciattarelli has 42% support, according to a StimSite research poll for Insider NJ. Another 1% of probable voters say they will definitely vote third party, leaving 9% who are undecided. There's still room for movement even among those currently backing one of the two major party candidates, as only 32% are definite about voting for Sherrill and 31% are definite about voting for Ciattarelli. Affordability and taxes are the themes of this election. Well, I'm glad that they talked about that. Duh, it doesn't take a genius to know that. But because, if you're reading Insider NJ on a regular basis, you would know about that. They're more concerned with, exhibiting the usual Trump derangement syndrome. And take your pick, folks. There's no shortage of idiots at Insider NJ. Jay Lassiter, when he's not, talking about weed or his sob story life, about his health and everything else. And, it's hard to recognize Jay Lassiter, obviously, when he doesn't have a bong in his mouth. But then again, when doesn't Jay Lassiter have something in his mouth? I mean, that's probably a topic for a different day. Are the other TDS children at Insider NJ, like Alan Steinberg, or John Van Vliet, or Bob Annaly, or a list of contributors that always like to give their 2 cents to Insider NJ? But it starts with their editor-in-chief, Max Pizarro, who, quite frankly, folks, is one of the more useless humans I've ever seen in establishment media. All right? Let's continue on here because, again, this is common sense, folks. Affordability, property taxes, spending. Now, I get it for someone like Max Pizarro who sits at home, scratches his ass, and plays with his dick, earning over $100,000 a year. I get it. He doesn't feel the crunch like everyday New Jersey families. So when you're that disconnected from reality and you live in your own bubble, yeah, maybe issues like affordability and taxes and spending don't really resonate with Max. Right? But let's continue here. Rising to the top of a list of 13 different issues that voters say are most important to them in choosing a candidate for governor. Among voters who name affordability as one of their top issues, Sherrill, 36%, and Ciattarelli, 34%, run about evenly on who can better handle it. But the Republican has an overwhelming advantage among those concerned with lowering taxes, 50% to 15% for Sherrill. But the Democrat has a small edge on being able to provide economic opportunities for New Jersey families, 54% to 49%. How is that possible? When property taxes continue to go up, when fees continue to go up under this recent state budget, when the gas tax, again, and it started under Chris Christie, I'll be intellectually honest, I can call balls and strikes fairly, unlike the clowns at Insider NJ. But the gas tax went up in its final phase early this year. So while we're paying under $3 a gallon in many parts of New Jersey, folks, we should be closer to $2 a gallon because of the gas tax, which I believe is the third highest in the country, just behind California. Okay. We're paying 49 cents more for a gallon of regular gas because of the gas tax. As we're going down the shore to visit family, go to the beach, go to Tiki Mondays in Point Pleasant, who knows? You're paying more for tolls on the Parkway and the Turnpike, respectively. And the reason that New Jersey continues to be more affordable, folks, it's not Republicans' fault in Trenton because they haven't had a majority for over 20 years. So when the leadership in Trenton wants to lecture you about, affordability, it's their own fault. So, and I get it, Mikey Sherrill's in a hell of a pickle. She can't throw Phil Murphy and establishment Democrats under the bus. Like Senate President Scutari, Assembly Speaker Craig Coughlin, a majority leader Teresa Ruiz, right? These tax and spend woke warriors in Trenton, they're the ones that continue to ruin New Jersey. They're the reason people are moving out of New Jersey to more affordable states that are better run. Coincidentally, all red states like Texas, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Kentucky. You know what I'm saying? Tennessee. So she's in a hell of a pickle. Because there's only so much you can just play the same old song about, well, Donald Trump sucks. Does he? Does he really? When the market is looking as good as it has in the last 4 years, when inflation is at its lowest in 4 years, when food prices have gone down, you notice Democrats and liberals and progressives aren't talking about egg prices anymore? All right? Or groceries because they've gone down. Or somehow talking about the catastrophic effect of tariffs. Folks, have you seen the revenue generated by tariffs? Have you seen the trade deals that President Trump is signing? Have you seen the manufacturing jobs returning to the United States because of President Trump? So if you're Mikey Sherrill, what exactly are you going to campaign on? Oh my God, Donald Trump's going to ruin New Jersey. Really? Has Donald Trump been in trend for the last 20 years? Again, can someone explain this to me? Now, nobody at Insider NJ is intelligent enough or articulate enough to do so because, again, they would rather just exhibit Trump derangement syndrome. Right? But that's what makes this poll, again, ladies and gentlemen, so incredible and downright delusional. Right? Interesting here. Both political parties are viewed negatively, 58% unfavorable for the Democrat Party, which, folks, on a national level, it's in the 20 percentile. Max will never tell you that because, again, as a proud Democrat, he would rather carry buckets of water for the Democrat Party than actually tell you the truth. And 55% unfavorable for the Republican Party. Most see both Sherrill at 57% and Chiarelli at 59% as typical party politicians. That's fair to say. Probably the only credible thing in this poll. Few say either seems like someone who can be independent of their respective parties. The survey was sponsored by Insider NJ and conducted by Stim Site Research on July 18th to the 24th, with a sample size of 1,108 probable voters in the 2025 New Jersey general election. The sampling margin of error in the poll was plus 3.3 percentage points. Gee, a poll paid for by Insider NJ, who is owned by a family that fundraises for the Democrat Party consistently and religiously. Sorry, folks, I can't take it seriously. But then again, when we think about Insider NJ, do we ever take it seriously? Of course not. It's hard to when you have clowns like Max Pizarro overseeing Insider NJ. Truly a shame, folks. When it started in 2017, Insider NJ had a lot of promise. But it's become a rag. Like the rest of the establishment and legacy media here in New Jersey. Take your pick. The Star Ledger, NJ.com, NorthJersey.com via the Bergen Record, the Asbury Park Press, Politico. Again, folks, independent media is where it's at. There's a reason why my metrics are good and his are bad. It's not difficult to figure out, folks. This isn't AP calculus or AP trigonometry. It's just, folks, you have eyes. The eyes don't lie. Even though Max Pizarro does on a regular basis. Now, from one useless human in media, Max Pizarro, let's move on to another useless human in media. And of course, folks, when we think about useless, it's Uncle Dave. And again, arguably the laziest journalist in New Jersey establishment media. And again, that's saying a lot when the competition's pretty close. You have Jay Laster, who, again, the only pussy that could stand and be by him are cats. I mean, I can't imagine anybody else. And when he's not mooching off his husband for money, because, I mean, does he really work? I mean, really? Interesting how you, keep getting money for weed and cat food, right? When you're not really working or publishing anything. Or John Van Vliet with useless editorials, or Bob Hennelly, or Alan Steinberg. Right? But I'll give them their due. At least some of them work. But David Cruz, I mean, if this mother effer works at least 6 months out of the year, that's an effing miracle for this lazy bastard. And I don't want to go, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole or go for the low-hanging fruit. I mean, David Cruz is lazy for reasons that, well, I think I'll keep to myself. Might get me in trouble. But the latest nonsense from David Cruz is talking about whether or not there should be more debates. Now, again, as I talked about last week with my guest, David Wildstein, the editor of the New Jersey Globe, who, by the way, again, I would argue is at the top of the food chain when it comes to New Jersey media. Not establishment media, but independent media. Because what they do with the New Jersey Globe is they call balls and strikes fairly. You can't say the same at NJPBS or NJ Spotlight News. And again, while my heart breaks for people that work at NJPBS, you can thank clowns like David Cruz for contributing to your demise, for contributing to why PBS and NPR are being defunded. Because at least if you were trying to call balls and strikes fairly, that's one thing. But guess we're here in New Jersey, in a Democrat state, right? In a Democrat-controlled legislature. Yeah. The state assembly, the state senate voted to cut off some funding to NJPBS and NJ Spotlight News. That should tell you everything you need to know about what people in Trenton think about NJPBS and clowns like David Cruz. And I get it, folks. NJ Spotlight News serves a purpose. You have some nice-looking MILFs on that channel. Brianna Vanozzi, Joanna Gagas, Raven Santana. Absolutely. They're nice to look at. And certainly, to watch their telecast of the nightly news. But David Wallstein brought up a very good point that ELEC looks at what news organizations are going to do the best job when it comes to debates and hosting them. Folks, we've seen the body of work is there. The New Jersey Globe, partnering with Rider University, continues to host and produce exceptional debates. Where, again, David Wallstein, Micah Rasmussen, Laura Jones, Joey Fox, Matt Rooney in certain instances, they're not making the debate or the event about themselves. They're about asking the candidates questions that residents and New Jersey taxpayers want answers to. But for someone like David Cruz, no, he wants to make it about himself. He has to be at the center of it. No. And I get it. It's hard for him not to be at the center of it because he occupies so much real estate. But folks, there's a reason why ELEC decided not to give NJPBS and NJ Spotlight News a debate in the fall. They're just not a credible news site. They've lost their way. And I get it when you have people like David Cruz, who sits there and, whenever Cory Booker is in the studio, this is David Cruz. He's as giddy as a schoolgirl. When he's interviewing people like David Cruz or propagandists like John Leguizamo or George Lopez. He gets as giddy as a schoolgirl. Or giddy like when he sees his refrigerator full. That's not good journalism, folks. That's shit journalism. And clearly, ELEC saw through that. That's the only logical conclusion I can come to. Because I'm pretty sure all these news organizations put forward a very good proposal. They have to. They have to present themselves in a way that's going to make them an attractive destination for one of the debate forums. But what's interesting is for David Cruz to do a segment about whether or not there should be more debates. Check out this. This is, folks, you have to laugh at this, how rich it is and how sanctimonious it sounds with David Cruz talking about this. But let's talk about the latest clip.
When candidates qualify and opt to participate in the public financing program, they are required to participate in these debates.
Election Law Enforcement Commission Executive Director Amanda Haynes says the 2 governors and 1 lieutenant governor debate awarded this week are exactly what the state's public financing law requires. But Republican Jack Ciattarelli thinks 2 gubernatorial debates is not enough. His campaign has asked ELEC to schedule 4. Generally speaking, people say, they want more debates because they're behind.
No, I think the answer here is, and we've seen this, she's done less than 10 public interviews by my count. She's done less than 24 public events since the primary. Our campaign is saying, let's have a public debate and a public conversation. And frankly, members of the press, I would hope, would be asking her and her team these questions and asking why she's hiding from you.
That's a lot coming from a campaign well practiced in avoiding joint appearances during the recent primary. In that race, Ciattarelli led in the polls the entire way, but Cheryl is still working on a public style and hasn't had decades of politics to get to know the state press like Chitterelli has. Cheryl's camp didn't respond to our calls today. Still, she's ahead in all public polls, so why would she? Why would any frontrunner want more debates? That's how strategists like Dan Bryan see it. He's a Democrat who saw Governor Phil Murphy through 2 campaigns worth of debates.
Listen, David, here's what I'll say. If you mapped out campaigns over the last decade that have asked for more debates and demanded endless debates, and campaigns that have actually won at the end of the day, it's a pretty small list. Demanding endless debates is usually the hallmark of a losing, even a desperate campaign. I think that's what we're seeing with the Chitterelli.
Yeah, that's right, Dan. I mean, I think Kamala Harris was asking for more debates. Yeah, how'd that work out, right? So, okay. I'm glad you brought that up, by the way.
Campaign right now, I have never heard a voter say, I really wish they had more debates. Usually 2 is enough. The days of having all of these debates is usually before television. Since then, 1 or 2 debates is usually plenty for actual voters.
I personally, and I think a lot of people who care about democracy would love to see more debates, but we'd like to see actual debates where people go back and forth. You look at that old Kennedy-Nixon debate that everyone knows so well. Those were pretty good debates. They were civil. They were policy oriented. There wasn't a lot of sniping. It was pretty high level stuff. But I think we'd like more of that.
You know what we hear repeatedly from you? It's always the previous administration's fault or Donald Trump's fault. Okay? So it's the truth.
Let me say that to all of you, gents.
Character is an issue. You've never won an election.
So is integrity, Jack, and
you've been rejected by the people that know you best.
Oh, for the days of the 3-hour Lincoln-Douglas debates, where each candidate spoke for 30 minutes, with a 90-minute response followed by a 30-minute rebuttal from the first candidate. You can't imagine sitting through that, because...
Well, especially with you, David. I mean, I think looking at you for 3 hours would be unpleasant. I mean, I might get drunk just having to drink myself to sleep. Just imagining you on my TV screen for 3 hours. I mean, folks, we can barely get to 30 minutes of that snooze fest of shows that he hosts all the time. So imagine 3 hours. I mean, my goodness.
In 1859, they didn't put out seats. Not in this short attention span era, says Professor Ambar. But
a debate may not be won or lost in the conventional sense, but you still have to demonstrate to people that you are worth voting for, that there's something exciting about you. Why am I going to come home early or get in line early in the morning?
That may be expecting a lot from a debate, with candidates trained to deliver sound bites and one-liners over nuance. But is more really more? That is, as they say, open to debate. I'm David Cruz, NJ Spotlight News.
Well, thankfully, we're never going to have to know, because you're not hosting one, David. And I think on behalf of everybody in New Jersey that wouldn't want to be put to sleep, I think we're all grateful that ELEC made a great decision in giving the debate to the New Jersey Globe, along with Rider University, as well as Fox 5 and ABC 7. So, again, David, it's very, very simple. If you want NJPBS and NJ Spotlight News to be taken seriously, then you need to get back to being serious. And you're not a serious journalist. What's happened, Dave, is you've become a propagandist. Now, don't take my word for it, folks. Just watch Uncle Dave when he interviews Democrats and Republicans. You can hear the little snarky tone when he talks to conservatives and Republicans. And when it comes to Democrats, liberals, and progressives, it's like, again, it's like this perpetual erection in his pants for David Cruz. Not that he can see his dick, but you understand what I'm saying, right? Folks, this is at the heart of why establishment media is dying. People aren't trusting establishment and legacy media anymore, not only on a national level, but here in New Jersey. I talked about this at length last week with David Wildstein, the editor of the New Jersey Globe. And again, David's a gentleman. David's going to take the high road. David's going to be very objective. And he'll be nice about it. I don't have to be nice. I don't mind shitting on David Cruz because he gives me a lot of ammunition for it. But here's the thing, folks. And here's where the rubber meets the road, as the acronym says. The reason that NJPBS and NJ Spotlight News don't do well is because you have propagandists ultimately being, I would argue, the face of the network. Now, if we're moving away from that, again, if the face of the network is going to be, again, these great MILFs on Spotlight News, like, again, Brianna Vannozzi, Raven Santana, Joanna Gagan. And again, folks, listen, this is all in good humor. Chill the F out. I know people like, oh, David Cruz, oh, Uribe is a misogynist, and look how he talks about women. Chill, bro. It's all in good fun. But the fact is, not just because of aesthetically and visually how pleasant it is to look at them, but they do a better job of talking about the news. Dave, you don't do that anymore. Chat box has become the snooze box as far as I'm concerned, and don't even get me started on Reporters Roundtable. Okay? We're approaching the one-year anniversary of the death of Michael Aaron, who I would argue is the dean of journalism in New Jersey, who by himself is the entire Mount Rushmore of journalism in New Jersey. How I long for the days of Reporters Roundtable hosted by Michael Aaron. I should know, I was on multiple episodes. But folks, look no further than to why organizations like NJ Spotlight News and NJPBS don't get debates. It starts with David Cruz. Now, David, again, I'm not going to give you any career advice. I get it. You're like in your mid to late 80s. Who am I to give you advice? I'm like half your age. But what I would argue is that in this twilight of your career, try to maybe reinvent yourself, or at least try to redeem yourself in trying to be going back to the days of being a credible journalist. You've lost that. You just have. You've become so partisan, you can't see the forest from the trees. Don't take my word for it, folks. Just look at the numbers and metrics. They speak for me. So, again, I continue to say it all the time. When it comes to the establishment media, legacy media in New Jersey, folks, they are dying. David Cruz is a dinosaur. And a very big pill for him to swallow. I mean, because he swallows every other piece of food out there. But what's especially difficult for David Cruz to swallow is that people like Fernando Uribe, I'm the future of media, folks, here in New Jersey. I'm the future. David Cruz, he's the dinosaur. And trust me when I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the meteor's coming. And trust me, Dave's not going to know when it hits him. But keep doing your job, David. It's a shitty one at best, and it's a horrendous one at its worst. But I'll say this much. If you're curious why NJPBS, NJ Spotlight News gets excluded from debates moving forward, again, look no further. Actually, look in the mirror, because it starts with you and the service you do to journalism and media every single day. There's no chance to redeem yourself, man. I'm not going to bet on that. It's kind of like betting on your New York Mets to win a World Series. Guess what? Spoiler alert, both of those things, they're not going to happen either. And those are my final thoughts. Folks, before we call it a night here, certainly I want to thank everyone for, again, continuing to make Real Talk with Fernando Uribe a metrics and viewing success. Over 47,000 views for the month of July. And again, folks, we're here as we're starting off in August. Again, we appreciate your support. Everyone that tunes in every Monday night, that watches live and also shares the replays and that likes the episodes and comments on them. Guess what? That goes a long way in getting the episodes out to more people. And on behalf of everybody here at Jersey First TV, we're truly grateful. Because again, we are the future of independent media, and we'll continue to be the future of independent media because we're speaking for you. We're talking about the issues that matter most to you right now in today's political climate. Not all the woke bullshit, not identity politics, not pronouns, not coddling mentally ill people, trans people. No, folks, it's about talking about the issues that matter. Kitchen table issues, affordability, whether or not you can pay your rent or your property taxes, whether or not you're getting more fees assessed to basic everyday living in New Jersey. That's what matters, folks. That's what we're talking about here on Jersey First TV. Unlike, again, the establishment and legacy media, we're not the same. And guess what? We never will be. We're up here. They're down here. Again, we're not the same. So on behalf of everybody here at Jersey First TV, we thank you for supporting Real Talk with Fernando Uribe live every Monday night. Folks, once again, I want to thank tonight's guest, Alexandra Bougher, the Distinguished Chair in Bergen County of Moms for Liberty. For more information, please visit momsforliberty.org. Once again, www.momsforliberty.org. Click on the state and, of course, the county chapters that correspond to you. If you're looking to get involved or start a chapter, guess what? Contact Alexandra Bougher on her social media. Of course, contact Moms for Liberty for more information. Folks, again, I can't say enough how much it means to me and your support on all of our social media platforms. If you haven't done so already on Facebook, make sure you like my page along with Real Talk with Fernando Uribe and Fernando Uribe Media. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and X, and of course, subscribe to us on YouTube. And of course, whether you get your podcasts on Spotify or SoundCloud, download Jersey First and take it with you anywhere at any time. Again, whether you're driving down to Point Pleasant for Tiki Mondays, going to the mall, going school shopping for your kids, as maybe you're moving them back to campus at whatever college or university they attend, coming in just a few short weeks, or again, the regular academic school year for kids in elementary school, middle school, and high school. Guess what? You're probably going clothes shopping, school supplies, whatever it is you're doing. I'm pretty sure you're on your smartphone. Check out Jersey First. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. And folks, again, we appreciate your support of Jersey First TV. Of course, front and center here, always educating and advocating for the residents of the state of New Jersey. We're doing that here, folks. Here, the leaders of independent media. That's right. It's always Jersey First TV. And it starts with Real Talk with Fernando Uribe every single Monday night. Of course, check your local listings for start times. And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it's always Real Talk right here on the Jersey First Television Network. Once again, I am the generational talent in Garden State Media. And certainly I'll continue to be your trusted source for strong, fearless, independent journalism. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's me, Fernando Uribe, the hero you need right now because, folks, let's be honest. As the establishment and legacy media here in New Jersey continues to lie to you every single day, guess who won't? Fernando Uribe. Folks, I'm the hero you need right now, and I'll continue to be your hero for the foreseeable future. There's always attempts to cancel me, but guess what? In the immortal words of Jordan Belfort, I'm not effing leaving. We appreciate your support here on the show. Folks, again, please party responsibly. Take care of yourselves. Certainly look after your elderly neighbors during these hot summer days. Look after your kids. Be careful of kids riding their bikes on your local neighborhood streets. And again, be good to each other, folks. And we appreciate you stopping by. And always remember, stay classy, everyone.